What's up everybody, and welcome back to yet another video. Wishworld has split the reality of the fandom in half and everything has fallen into the underverse, and here we are at the end. The final episode of season 2. And you guys know what that means. I see it with my own eyes. Give me the strength to carry on. Can we reach 30,000 subscribers? You guys see it? I know you see it. How close we are. We can do it. We can do it. So don't forget to hit below to subscribe. You guys already know, people. Anyway, let's talk about the episode. Holy Christ, Wishworld. What a story, huh? I was worried when I posted my video. You guys remember I posted it in my review? I was afraid I would get crucified in the comment section, kind of like how I did for Lucky Day, but I was surprised. My sentiment was shared almost universally by the fandom. I don't want to say by everyone. A lot of people disagree. It's never meant to be universal. But from what I could gather from the comment section, basically everyone agreed. It was a very episode. It's one of the episodes of all time. And it led me to some of the conclusions that I've reached in this video that I want to share with you guys. And at the same time, I want this to be an open conversation. I want you guys on it as well. So don't hesitate to leave your own thoughts in the comment section below, and we'll go through a few of them a bit more later on the video. So just hear me out, okay? We can talk down below. Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you agree? Disagree? And so on. So let me just start straight off the bat. Throw out a hot take fresh off the grill. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Series 14 is better than Series 15. And I don't think it's particularly close. Whoa, spicy. What are we saying, guys? Yay? Nay? I know I'm coming at this from a different perspective to all of you guys. I was a lot more pro Series 14 than a lot of you guys. A lot of people hated that series. But that's because I genuinely thought it was good, okay? And I genuinely think it's good. I wasn't lying, bruh. I enjoyed it quite a hell of a lot. And I look back on it now, and it wasn't recency bias. It was genuinely quite good. And this isn't an original observation, right, even for this channel, but season 2 does seem to be following near enough the same exact formula as the one before it, which sadly invites comparison between the two. And I'm not just going to ignore that. I mean, a lot of these episodes are direct remakes, so if we look at them, well, you guys aren't gonna like, you're not gonna like what I've got to say. But I rewatched Space Babies. I rewatched it just after the Robot Revolution came out, and Space Babies is just far better. I know a lot of you guys, you don't like the babies, but I get a lot of people, they think it's too childish. But personally, as a story, I genuinely think it's just far better. So point 1 to Series 14. The Devil's Cord, in my opinion, far superior to Lux. This is probably the most in contention one though, so you know, I'll let you guys have this one either way. Some of you guys hate the Devil's Cord. I don't get it. But point 2 to Series 14. Boom is so much better than The Well. It's crazy, right? Like, I understand The Well is regarded as the best of Series 15, so what's that saying about that? But are we kidding here? It's not a comparison in my opinion. 3 points. And I mean, 73 yards and Lucky Day? I mean, Lucky Day on its own is almost enough for me to say that this series is worse. Nothing, not even Empire of Death, comes close to Lucky Day in my opinion. I just think this episode is straight up not good. So, boom, 4 for 4. I prefer Dirt and Bubble to The Story in the Engine, but this one is very close to another one where I don't mind it going either way. And yeah, the Interstellar Song Contest probably is better than Rogue, let's be real here. So not 100%, but bringing us right back to Wishworld. Yeah, I don't think this one holds a candle to last year's either. The Legend of Ruby Sunday is a controversial episode, mainly due to its association with the finale Empire of Death. As a standalone episode, it serves little purpose other than setup. However, counterpoint, at least it still serves little purpose, as in there's a little bit. Mainly, it sets things up that will come back into play in the next story. It also has character moments, and most importantly of all, it has a feeling of forward momentum. Things are happening, and that is all building towards a greater goal, a greater climax. We, the audience, are awaiting the reveal of who Ruby's mum is, and then we're hit with the double whammy, regardless of how predictable it is, that there is actually a secret big bad, blah de blah. It isn't actually that we don't know, it's that the characters don't know. The drama of them finding out is what's truly exciting. You guys follow? But now, let's look at Wishworld. I think my main problem, if I had to sum it up in just one sentence, is that where it ends should be where it starts. If you would please consult the graphs. As you can see, here is the graph of things happening measured against runtime of the episode. For Wishworld, there is a shocking lack of things happening until the very end where something very big happens. Now, if we compare it to what an episode should look like, you will see that here, things are happening pretty consistently throughout the whole episode, and then it reaches a massive climax before coming to a sudden end, and that's what makes you go, what? Let's look at Wishworld. Wishworld begins with John Smith waking up to go to work. He then goes to work. He then comes home from work. And then he is taken to the Ronnie's castle. The end. There is a massive exposition dump and finally things start happening. Throughout the story, the B plots have been Belinda kind of just sitting around and Ruby also kind of just sitting around and talking about stuff. Maybe it's because I already saw the trailer. But I feel like all of the things that this episode is talking about are stuff that we all can intuitively get. Like all of the stuff we could intuitively tell probably from just a title sequence, if we're being, do we really need all this setup for a world that's gone by the end of the story? I mean, we just have setup, and by the time the setup's done, the world's already gone. It's not like the world building really makes sense. It's intentionally broken and not fully thought out. Then the doubt tears it all down. Very clever. However, we could also just rewrite this whole story so that after last week and the cliffhanger that the doors get blown off the hinges, we could also just start here, right? And then we don't need a Wishworld at all. Oh, but you don't understand. It sets up with an extra episode. You can explain more of what happens after the reality falls, and trust me, we are going to be needing that more time. Okay, here's a little test. Come back to this in a week and tell me that more time would have actively hurt the story. Tell me that, okay? Just to really run home my opinion that we didn't really need all this setup. As my brother so rightly pointed out to me after he watched this episode, this story is very analogous to a DWM strip called John Smith and the Common Man. Now, you might think that incredibly nerdy of us that we collect all the DWMs and know all the comics and actually think a lot of them rival or even surpass the modern show as a matter of fact, but this one in particular always stood out. Okay, so give us a pass. The reason it stood out is because it happens to be very good. It's the 50th anniversary issue, so it has all these cameos and Easter eggs, but it's also just a brilliant story. And it is 12 pages long. Okay, that's all it needed to be. You can tell this exact story in a very succinct way. Another story this episode apes from is The Sound of Drums. I'm sure you guys felt this one as well. World under the control of a lunatic, Time Lord planning something for a very specific music, companions have to go rogue, homelessness, all of this stuff. The difference is that The Sound of Drums has a very constant sense of pace where lots of crazy things and great interactions can happen. It's not just the story, it's the character, but both are important and necessary. You cannot just jump straight from Utopia to Last of the Time Lords. You need the second chapter of that story. If we look at here, Interstellar Song Contest is entirely disconnected. This episode is filler, and part 2 should have been where we started, right here. This is what I like to call the Series 9 problem, where a lot of the stories obviously started out with an idea for a cliffhanger, and so the entirety of part 1 is contrived and stretched out and padded so that we can get to that cliffhanger. And due to the lack of story developments, conversation around the episode has instead shifted to small bits. This includes Susan showing up for approximately 1 second, Rogue showing up for maybe 12 seconds, and Omega being mentioned in this terribly edited and poorly written montage of Conrad's face. Is Conrad going to be possessed by Omega in the next episode and this is why they're doing this? Why is the text going crazy everywhere? Is it just to take from last year's story again? And of course, most egregiously of all, this isn't just exposition, Doctor. The one line you can say to instantly take the viewer out of the moment. Do you know what it lacks? It lacks sincerity. I made a video last year called Doctor Who: The Joy of Sincerity, and was essentially a love letter explaining that the reason why I enjoyed the first 2 stories of Series 14 so much is the fact that they are what they are and they are unapologetic on that front. This kind of snarky, well, it's not just exposition, ha 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 ha, I'm so clever, is far too on the nose for my liking. Although I understand the temptation, right? Like, I get it. From a writer's perspective, it's the easy way out when you yourself recognize, oh, these pages, I mean, just lots and lots of exposition. Maybe I can get ahead of the criticism by putting that in. No, stop doing that. What you were doing doing is you are highlighting it to everyone, the whole viewing audience. You're highlighting it that the last few pages have been exposition. It's an admission. You're too self-aware. The majority of the audience wouldn't have noticed. Now that you've shone a light on it, it becomes impossible to not. These fourth wall break type comments are hit and miss, in my opinion. It's a very fine tightrope because sometimes they do work, and that's where the temptation from a writer comes in, because sometimes they work very well. But here, well, it's debatable. Speaking of fourth walls and on that same wavelength, now that it's finally all over, I can safely say that the Mrs. Flood story arc was a total miss. I did not give a shit. Even while watching the stories, I never once cared. How is that possible? This was not the case last year. Susan Twist was an interesting plot arc. I was intrigued until they said all that stuff about generating content, but there's stuff there, there's a mystery, it's subtle, you know, it's subtle. Mrs. Flood is the opposite of subtle. Mrs. Flood is derivative, too similar, but lacks all of the interesting things that made Susan Twist intriguing in the first place. Now I'm just left with a bunch of questions, and I don't even care about the answers. Why is Mrs. Flood Belinda's neighbor? Why was she Ruby's neighbor? What was she doing in the church on Ruby Road? Why and how did she break the fourth wall? I don't know, and this episode made it clear that none of these are on the top of the agenda. Moving on from that to the other villains, Archie Punjabi did a brilliant job as the Rani, okay? Moving more towards the positives now. Mrs. Flood, she was good, right? She's always been good. It's just that I never found the mystery compelling. And then we got Conrad. Guys, you know how I feel about Lucky Day. You know how I feel about this episode. And Conrad was what we like to call an anti-character. And here he just made me ask, why is he even in the story? Like what is he doing? Like, what's he doing in the episode? Bro thinks he's on the team. Get him out of here. He literally serves no purpose in the narrative. He serves no purpose in Lucky Day either. What's the point in having you all? Lucky Day in retrospect annoys me even more now because it took away an extra episode from Belinda. Belinda needed far more. She needed far more, by the way. In last episode, she barely does anything. In the episode before that, she barely does anything. In the one before that, she's in it for about 2 seconds. And now she's a brainwashed housewife? What? I thought this was meant to be her season. Hashtag get her home and so on. The first 3 episodes do a brilliant job setting up her character, and then we just don't move on from there. Of course, it goes without saying, Vardhana Sethu has been brilliant and is still brilliant even in these episodes. But how is she still being sidelined for Ruby? How is this happening? As the #1 member of the Vardhana Sethu fan club, step it up, Mr. T Davies. You have people out here saying that Belinda wasn't even meant to be the companion. It was meant to be Ruby. I still don't know how I feel about that. I still feel like that isn't the case. Egg on my face, maybe that'll be proven wrong, who knows? But the fact that people are saying that this season was probably meant to have Ruby and Belinda's a last minute rewrite, you can't have people be saying this, bro. I'm fighting for her honor. Even the biggest Belinda fans, I'm seeing them turn against her. I'm seeing them turn against. I'm the last one left. For a story that doesn't have a lot going on, there sure are an awful lot of name drops. The Rani reveal stuck out to me a lot on rewatch as a moment that I felt like I would have loved if not for the ending of the Interstellar Song Contest. I kind of blew their load there. My theory is that in the script editing stage, the ending to Interstellar was adjusted and the mid-credit scene was added on top of that too. So it's not like a rush job on filming, but my theory is that the original ending for Interstellar would have been the Doctor and Belinda being far more adversarial after everything that they set up in that script. And then the Rani reveal would happen here, and then we'd get the double dip, the double whammy of Omega on top. In execution, I feel like here would have been far better, but from their back-end analytics, maybe they determined that last week was more beneficial. I don't know. Because now we have Omega. Omega. Oh my god. Has anyone made that joke yet? I hope not. That one's funny as fuck. The one who waits. I mean, the one who is lost. What? We don't see him. Hard to be invested when they don't even give us the effect shot. Additionally, I'm putting the brakes on this one. I'm just gonna tell you, Mr. T Davies. Heart to heart, mind to mind, kid to kid, this is too fanish, bruh. This whole thing. Okay, this whole thing. Seal of Rassilon, Seal of Omega. The Rani for season 2? Have you lost your mind? Where the series is right now, where the Ncuti Gatwa era, where his arc is right now, it just doesn't fit. On the plus side, you know, even out, balance it. Having one of the main villains be a baby is cool. Like, genuinely. That does fit. That is an idea that suits this version of the Doctor. It ties things back together again. The giggle moment was quite cool, but Omega? Okay, I was talking about this in the last video, but if we imagine for a second that the Moffat era and the Chibnall era never happened, right? Just forget that. And that vaguely the story continued on from 10th Doctor's regeneration at the end of time, right? An alternative reality where things kind of went into mixture RTD2, but right after RTD1, like a Wishworld. Weirdly enough, I feel like things would have turned out kind of the same. We probably wouldn't have got Shutagawa in 2010. I don't know how old he was in 2010. He's like 19. We probably wouldn't have got like any of the individual stories, right? Like Space Babies, hell nah. But if we're talking broad strokes here, right? Series 5, Toymaker probably would have been the end of level villain. Then Series 6 probably would have been Sutek. Series 7 probably would have been the Rani. And then the 50th anniversary, I can see that being Omega. I can see it. I can see it. And back then, that probably would have worked. But the Moffat era has happened. The Chibnall era has happened. And this Mr. T Davies, he wants to have his cake. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to A, have a new era. He wants to B, have his original era. And he wants to C, have nods to other eras like Moffat and Chibnall. And D, he wants to have connections to the ancient pasts of 60s to 80s Doctor Who. He wants to have all of those things, right? I imagine to Russell T Davies, he views the audience as having watched 2005 to 2009 and then most of them skipping all of that intermediary stuff and going straight into 2023. I imagine that that's how he views the audience as going to. 2023 is more or less a legacy sequel to 2008 Doctor Who. It is also a continuation of Rusty Davies 1. It runs under the assumption, as I just said, that Rusty Davies 1 is where most people tuned out. It does acknowledge the small parts of the audience, small in inverted commas, because it's larger than they'd like to admit, that stuck around for the last full 15 years. And so basically it's at an impasse. It wants to go both ways. And so it ends up getting torn in half. The same story that could have worked back if this was 2012 or 2013, it just doesn't work now. We have resolved the Last of the Time Lords plot arc. That has been resolved for longer than it was around, by 5 years. In fact, let's break this down, okay? Doctor Who series 1 to 7 is the Last of the Time Lords arc. And 8, 9 and 10, you can put that on at the end because there's a bunch of crossover there, and you can make series 1 to 10 be kind of one long continuous story. Then you got the first major cutoff point with series 11. It's a hard reboot. You've got nothing crossing over. No one behind the scenes, no one in the music department, no one in front of it. It's all new. And this, if you're wondering, is why so many people say that Twice Upon a Time is the perfect ending point. That's a rant for another day. If you want to easily trigger me, that's all you've got to say. And then after that, series 12, it changes everything. It changes the overarching arc, the time war that's been left behind, and now we're going to the Timeless Child. From the Time War to the Timeless Child. I mean, that's a pretty big downgrade. But it is what it is. We move on. So Rusty Davies, he was at a crossroads here. He had two options, right? He either had to A, resolve the Timeless Child by retconning it or concluding it, or just about anything really, and then go on with the new plot arc, or B, he could continue it on. He chose option B. But he still thinks that he's in the Time War story arc. So he's still over here talking about Last of the Time Lords and bringing back Gallifrey. That's all over and done with, pal. It's only the hardcores who know about this stuff, right? The audience of New Who. Not even like the general audience. The Doctor Who fan audience. People who have watched all 15 series of New Who. A hefty investment. They don't know or care about the Rani or Omega. And if they don't care, imagine a casual observer. To give the devil his due, bringing Omega back is a good way to tie into the Timeless Child story arc. But you know he won't. That's not how this story's been set up at all. That is so far on the bottom of the agenda that if they did do it, it would come out of nowhere and be even more weird. If you did want to tie these series into the Timeless Child arc, like the Church on Ruby Road hints at, I mean, they're just got to be reinvented from the ground up. As I say, Mr. T Davies, he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to continue the Timeless Child story arc by just kind of saying, oh, that's the thing that happened. You can redeem this idea. You can. You genuinely can. But to do so, you also have to be honest with yourself. And you've got to admit what it is, what it says. You have to follow the story like tides in a river. You can't go against it. Maybe the language I'm choosing here is rather opaque. But the point I'm trying to get across is this. For where the show is right now, this is not what it needs to do. All of that waffle, all of what I just said can be boiled down to that. In the past, it might have worked. But now things things have changed, and they have been changed for almost 10 years. So this isn't a case of it happened while you were filming, but even still, with all of that said, with all of that moaning and whinging and fan brain paranoia, even with all of that, I still have faith. I'm a true believer, Mr. T Dizzle. I know you can bring it home. I know. Anything else I missed? Oh yeah, Rogue. So what I found funny about this scene is that at first I thought he sounded like Captain Jack. Then I was reminded about how much worse this character is than Captain Jack. And then I saw this green screen. Then he told the Doctor a piece of plot information that would have been better for the Doctor to A, figure out himself, and also B, something that doesn't even make sense for Rogue to know. Is this a fake Rogue? Is this the Ronnie creating him? And then I remembered that Rogue was named after a D&D character. Who came up with this shit, bruh? The writers for Loki? Oh wait. He then says, I love you, bruh. You knew him for 5 minutes. Better still, this was filmed at the same time as the episode last year. This motherfucker ain't coming back. Let's look at the checklist, people. Let's look at the checklist. Have I got everything? Padding, check. Belinda, check. Rogue, check. Susan, check. Ronnie's, check. Omega, checkity, check. Have I talked about everything? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh well, maybe I'll remember it after reading some of your guys' thoughts. Yeah, this is a community reaction video. Did I fool you? And here we are with the poll. The poll for Wishworld. It's not looking good, bruv. 25% said amazing, 45% said good, 22% said alright, and 8% said bad. Yeah, this is not a good result. This is the second lowest of the season after Lucky Day. And as you can see here, there are more people in alright and bad combined than in amazing. That's definitely not a good sign. Especially compared to the Interstellar Song Contest, which was a much more controversial episode and currently sits at a 51% amazing. Over double the percentage. Either way, with all that said, let's dive straight into the comments. Here's a great one to start us off from Benzuko Lives. Here's my prediction. Omega, nothing can stop me now. The Doctor, but I have this magic baby. I wish none of this happened. Omega, no! I could never have predicted this. Rogue, why am I here? I hope not, but they kind of ruined it by having a God of Wishes. I didn't think this, but you're probably right. I mean, they have the undo button right there. It's right in front of us. The Rani had a goblin glider, so automatic peak episode. Edit, I did actually dislike that, and this isn't just exposition line, because one, yes it is, but two, I wouldn't really have cared because I was immersed in the story until you said that. Exactly. You put it perfectly, my friend. You put it perfectly. Here's one from Elbrix, goat of the channel, who says, I would argue that Omega is the first Time Lord. Elbrix, my friend, I love you, but you are objectively wrong here. Because before his black hole engineering with Rassilon, the Time Lords were just some Shobogans that could regenerate. As he was a scientist behind the development of time travel, he is the first Time Lord, not biologically, but the first to be worthy of that mantle. No, friends. I'm sorry to break this to you all, but Rassilon in old canon's the first Time Lord, and Tecteun in new canon is the first Time Lord. Now we're getting into fan continuity territory. He is also not the most evil Time Lord. Rassilon is the most evil Time Lord, and he is also not the most powerful Time Lord, because Rassilon is the most powerful Time Lord. The reason why Omega is called the first Time Lord in this story is because it sounds cool, which is fine, right? You can reset all of this lore. Obviously, Russell T Davies, when he adds it in, his intention is that he's reinventing it, right? It's his toys now, right? But if you want to get nerdy, I'll get right down into the mud with you. I've got my nerd glasses. So Elbrick7631, imagine I'm UI Goku and you're Jiren. We're having the clash of the ages, Doctor Who lore. Who is correct? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And here's a good one from the Freddy Ricks. This is actually a pretty good comment. I'm so surprised at the general reaction to this episode so far, because this was the first episode this season that really got me excited to see more. And the response from Esme Jane, same, I loved it. Loved how it felt like 1984 / Don't Worry Darlings. Speaking of 1984, now you know how it feels to be the audience in 1984. The Doctor Who audience, that is. Everyone's shitting on your show all the time. It's actually quite good. Yeah, Wishworld isn't like a bad episode. Even after I spent all this time ragging on it, I don't know if I'd call it a bad episode. I just felt nothing after watching it. I wish I could be excited. I feel like this is the sign of a bad cliffhanger. It ended and I said, you know what, I can wait. late. Maybe that's because I watched that at 9 o'clock in the fucking morning. What the hell are they thinking, bruh? But I didn't really find the cliffhanger that like, oh my god, I've got to see what happens next. Unlike last year, where I was so fucking excited, it's unbelievable. But you know what that means? Comment Series 14W. On with the next comment. Skeletons5319 says, Wishworld might easily be the most beautiful looking episode of Doctor Who, period. The production value on this one was off the chain. Or out the roof, as he says. Yeah, it was gorgeous. Oh my goodness. The direction and production and set design and everything. Mwah. Personally, I would say that Lux is up there. Nah, it's still Demons of the Punjab and Haunting of Diodati for me. Those are the ones I'm like, dang, bruh, they look beautiful. Heaven Sent is a gorgeous episode. That one might be in the top 3. Lux might be in the top 5. This one might even be in the top 10. I actually quite like the look of the Devil's Cord, but maybe I'm literally the only one on the planet. But yeah, holy cow. It's just beautiful. Here's one to chew on, people. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. If the Devil's Cord outfit was Ncuti Gatwa's outfit for like every episode of the show, would you complain? That fit is fucking fire, bruh. I would prefer it, honestly, if he had that outfit on from day one. He was wearing the fuck out that shit. There's a reason I use it in all the thumbnails. Oni-san AFK said, yeah, just finished it before watching this, and I was mainly just so confused as to what any of this had to do with anything. Every time I thought I had the start of an idea of what was going on, it just kept confusing me. But it was fun to look at with the unique set pieces in the Bone Palace. Yeah, this is how I feel, man. Very pretty to look at, very easy to watch. I don't understand what was the point of any of this, bruh. And here's another one from JRW. This guy's becoming a regular on the channel. I love his comments. Kinda shitty, wasn't it? We're off to a great start. They really made the one banger Rani theme and then made a whole episode just to use it. True, the Rani theme is fucking fire. Omega stuff cool, but that's right at the end. The episode wasn't enjoyable. It was just me wanting to skip to the end. Also, it's solved with a clip show again. Oops, yeah, they have been doing that a few times this year, It's not even like it's bad because Lucky Day was bad. It's bad because it's bad. Even if Lucky Day was good, it would still be bad. True. I don't want to say muddled messaging, but again, I don't understand what theme is trying to be portrayed. Yeah, I kind of don't get it either. But don't let anyone know I said that, right? Like, I understand the surface level things, but if you start thinking about it deeper than all of the stuff that you're meant to be thinking about, it kind of doesn't make any sense. But Ruby's stuff I didn't really care about at all, me neither. And the whole episode is just layers and layers of tropes that have already been done better. Not only have they been done better, they've been done better in Doctor Who and this era of Doctor Who. I guess it goes to show how terrible the world building has been, that all we have is the unit gang as side characters. I thought it would be like last season where the second to last was the good one, but it doesn't seem that way. 6 and 7 this season have both ended with completely open-ended cliffhangers and no next time. Yeah, that shit pisses me off as well, bruh. The next time trailer is my favorite part. It gets to a point where it just pisses me off more than anything, especially since they already ruined the first one. I don't know if ruined it, but I mean, I get it. There were not even good moments, and I'd say the acting was particularly poor from everybody except for the Rani, Both, and Belinda's actress. I would slightly disagree because I like that moment where Ncuti Gatwa opens the door and Ruby's there and he's like, who the fuck are you? Then he chases her away with the umbrella. I like that shit. But Varada Sethu praise equals W. After this, I'm expecting the finale to be an especially fan-wanky cameo fest with more exposition than we got this week. Episode sucked ass, and I'm still disappointed that they haven't touched on 73 yards or By Generation again. Well, don't worry, because next week they explain By Generation. Woohoo! I especially hate the Doctor wasn't even in the episode and just does exactly what the villain wanted for their big plan and then falls right into it. Yeah, doesn't go against the plan at all or even make any decisions at all. The Doctor goes with the Rani's plan so much that he doesn't even pull the pull doors. He pushes against them. Do you not see the fucking thing? That shit pissed me off. What's the point in watching if all I'm waiting for is fan wanky name drops, character returns, and then they have a half high concept, alternate world, half bullshitty exposition episode? I'm expected to call it peak when the titular character does not exist for it, and it's one of those times where I know for a fact, even if the reality war is peak, it will not improve the quality of this episode. Also, I said it last season about Rogue, but in my opinion, the Doctor is is asexual every time they're interested in another person sexually, and it will impact my opinions implicitly. And unless they do something with the group of disabled people thing next week, then I assume it's more of Russell projecting something what he thinks onto Doctor Who fans. At least give them a meaningful story. About the Doctor's sexuality, I feel like I've talked about this before. It was the main thing that the revival introduced, right? It was the real big talking point in series 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And by series 8, no one gave a shit anymore. And my stance on it is that if it's done well, then it's good. And a lot of the time it's not done well. When I was a kid, I was definitely really against it, but that's because, you know, you're kind of a kid. But at the same time, a lot of the time when you're a Doctor Who fan, your kid opinions are what forms everything about how you view the show going forward. And I don't think that's a problem. In fact, I think that's something to be celebrated. So part of me kind of wants to bring back that kid opinion I had on Doctor Who romances, because it's not like it totally went away. But at the same time, you know, I think in my head and I think about the Doctor Who romances. And if I'm honest, right, if I'm being honest here, I think there's a massive gold mine there. And I also think that a few of them in the past have been pretty damn good. But who knows, who knows? Thank you so much for the comment, my friend. What a monster one. Here is one from Manny Bachelor, another god of the channel. I love this guy. I have slept on it and I have woken up both wanting next Saturday to come right now, but also very much concerned for next Saturday. Bloody hell, there is going to be a lot to juggle. I honestly have no clue what's going to happen. I feel convoluted thinking about it all. What? There's Susan, the Rani, Omega, the baby. Let's go. Conrad, what's happening with Earth? Like, motherfucker blows up, no? How are they going to reset all of this? Is it going to be a wish situation? And all at the same time, it has to be a cohesive and enjoyable story which wraps up the season and, in a way, the era. It is a lot to ask for. Oh yeah. We're just going to be praying that Mr. T Dizzle makes it work, because goodness gracious me, we are praying, bro. Spirit bomb. Raise your hands, people. Give me your energy. What is that? The third Dragon Ball Z reference in this video? To be fair, I do look like Broly. Yeah, 1000% agree. Here is another one from Tom. I feel like this guy's been in every single one of the videos this season. But he says, yeah, I gotta admit, it was a bit of a nothing burger. But like, I can't hate it because there wasn't enough of it to hate. True, 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 true. Yeah, that's true. True, 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 pretty true. Yeah, that's true. True. Willing to give it the benefit of the doubt though, and just wait to see next week. If next week is a 10 out of 10, then this week is like a 7.5 at best. But yeah, if next week is a 7.5, then this episode is a 5 out of 10. Yeah, okay. If next episode, The Reality War, is God's gift, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10, peak perfection, right? Who knows? Then maybe we bumping this one up. But I don't think so. Even if next episode is good, I just don't see that happening. And here is one from Theta Ligma who says, yep, this exactly. I didn't really feel anything. Great acted moments. Belinda isn't given anything to do. Good children's show of messaging that children can grow up to appreciate. I also don't take offense to calling Doctor Who a kids show. It should be, and it should be good. Left with a lot of questions, but don't really care enough to get the answers. God, you literally understand, wasn't exciting or interesting. This is just my first impression, but I don't see anything changing anytime soon. We're literally twinning, bruh. Same wavelength, same shit. I agree 100%. And here is one from another goat of the channel, Teddy Bite. You guys already know. This has to be the most part 1 episode of part 1s, which is weird to say because usually Who part 1s are the better episodes of the 2-parters. I would agree. Usually the part 1s are way better. It's because doing a part 1's far easier. I think it's a perfectly fine first half of a story that could either turn out amazing or just kind of fall flat. I also personally think we don't really need any more returning classic characters. Besides the Toymaker, I don't really think any Russell T Davies 2 story profited from borrowing a character, and I think they should just have rather tried something new. Having to try and explain to all my friends who the Rani and Omega is also doesn't make this era newcomer friendly, in my opinion. All in all though, I did enjoy the episode. Let me let you in on a secret, little bro. No one gives a fuck who the Rani is. There's a reason she's only coming back 15 series in. But people ask for her every series. They were trolling, bruh. I was trolling. I didn't actually want to see her. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for the YouTube analytics. No one gives a fuck. Dr. Hoomps the Goat says, so yeah, I liked it. Back when the set photos of this episode came out, I tweeted out how I would love it if the finale of Series 15 was a dystopian alternate reality where Ruby's boyfriend was the ruler of and Ruby herself was unaffected, and that is pretty much what we got, so I'm satisfied. I do understand that it's all set up, it pretty much is. What's Serani's motivation? Is Susan in the Underverse somewhere? Are Ruby and Shirley going to be creating an uprising? Find out next time. Really, I figure it's like having a cake and eating it too. We get whatever the hell is going to happen in the reality war with the added starter of Wishworld. Might annoy some people, but viewed as a whole, I'm sure the story will be fine. Jury's still out on whether or not it'll be good or even well received. Omega. Yes! I love Omega. Bet you anything the Doctor and the Rani are get a psychic link and that'll be a contact reference. That'll be cool. Anyway, let's go. 7 for 7, baby. Stick the landing, please, kid. Please. And I think this is a great one to end on because, you know, it's positive, it's optimistic, and it's kind of got everything there, you know what I mean? So that's all of your guys' thoughts on Doctor Who Wishworld. Can you believe it? We've got one community reaction left, people. One episode, one shot, one opportunity. Salam dunk that shit, Mr. T Davies. I believe in you, buddy. And 1 week left to reach 30k. 1 week! And there we go. That's all for the video. It was kind of a stream of consciousness for me. I don't know, I don't really do these types of discussion videos anymore. I did one for Lucky Day, but that doesn't count. What I want to do is a real review, a real retrospective sit down. And I kind of want to do that to every episode, like every episode in Doctor Who ever. Because here, even after talking about it for so long, like this episode, I still don't feel like I comprehensively broke everything down. You know what I'm saying? Like I was mostly still talking about just the vibes. I wasn't necessarily going in full detail. Maybe I'll do that another time. If you guys like this video when the season ends, maybe I'll think of doing that. I feel like what I really want to do is a full massive retrospective look back on the past 2 seasons and go full into detail. Like a real massive review where I genuinely break it all down and stuff and all of that. If that sounds good, I mean, you guys already know what to do. Like and subscribe, people. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and a special thanks to everyone who helped support the channel. Tom, Cardboard Oracle, Silver Safi, Bonnie, Zoom, Dr. Hoomst, Jack D. Murray, Vorshcom, The Instinct, Kai Keller, Renegade Time Lord 97, Manny, Eric, Ren, Poop Criminal, Diego, Theta, Dark Tranquil, Chicky, No More Flippin', 6th Doctor Fan 84, Comfy Glitch X, Harry, Sanyu, Hamara God, Noah T, T Mara, Dobcool, Casual Log, E West, Christian Rothfuss, Unreal Dinnerbone, Aidan Davies, Reef Edwards, Space, Amber Knight, Casey, Snarly, Connor Bell, Ertle the Turtle, Andrew Locke, Bill Fleming, Hush, Wasabi, Jessica, Kai M, Kylo Wade, Mel, Owen, Toby Wan Kenobi, Sophie in the Sky, Goldfish, Johnny, Anthony Lentz, Fuchsia the Jester, Ben Zuko Lives, Freddie, Ross, JRW, Ethan, Hiroki, Swaro, Philippe, Nick, Kastretch, Just Him, and Teddy Bite. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!